Eric, are you there, darling?
I am.
Oh, thank you for joining us again. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're not as warm as you are. We're about 8 degrees in New Hampshire right now.
8 degrees?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Colleen, you get your mic on. I can hear you typing. Now, did you, okay, because you've been on my show on Cosmic Reality and you were on Dolly's show and now you're on another show, and a lot of times the audience is the same, but we do often have different people. So, let's just give them a little bit of a bio of who it is, first off, who you are and what you do, because, you know, you're just one of the more fascinating people I've come to meet, and I'm so grateful for, you coming on our shows. So, you know, who are you?
As everyone knows, I am Eric Perry. I am the CEO and co-owner of Haunted Productions, also the co-owner of Haunted in New England TV series, which is on Amazon Prime. We're also the owner of Central New Hampshire Paranormal Society out of Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm also an author of a book called Paranormal Questions of the Day, Book 1. And Spooky Jewelry. I'm also co-owner of Spooky Jewelry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I am the co-owner of Spooky Jewelry also.
Oh, yes, the jewelry. I was looking at the jewelry. It's very interesting. Now, you know, we'll get these links up somehow when I post we'll get the links up somehow to your jewelry, because when you go on to these, what he's dealing with is actually investigation into paranormal locations, and he doesn't charge for this, because my understanding of what you're doing, Eric, is that you really do believe there is a science involved in all of this, and you're approaching it that way. Not for, you know, giggles and laughs, but because you believe that there is a science and that you can get to you can at least learn what kind of questions to ask. Is this correct?
That's correct. When we do our investigations, we base it on scientific knowledge and facts that we do in the paranormal field. When we go to a house, we just don't say everything is paranormal. We actually look at the plumbing, the heating, the wiring. We do our baseline sweeps. We do different things to prove, you know, rule out paranormal activity first. And then whatever we have left over is pretty much if we get, let me put it this way. We were doing a house in Gorham, New Hampshire this past weekend called the Libby House. The Libby House has done several investigations there, quite a few. And the Libby House has its entities, and it has its spirits that roam the halls of this beautiful 1800 Victorian mansion. And the house itself, a lot of the stuff is left behind by people that have lived there in the Libby's house, that have lived there. The owners of the house left all their belongings behind every time. That you have that energy that we're seeing coming off some of the stuff that's left behind, like Mr. Libby's glasses, Mr. Libby's notebook, pictures of the family, stuff like that. You're seeing different things. So we try to, when it came to this place, the Libby House, we had everything from, within 15 minutes, we had a temperature that went from 72 down to 60 in a matter of 15 minutes. We had a geophone that was lighting up. We had EMF meters that were going off. We had a stuffed animal that was lighting up during an investigation that we had.
Now, what was that you said? An emerald? What did you say?
Yeah, a stuffed animal. It's a stuffed teddy bear that's actually used as a trigger object. And in the hands and in the face and stomach and stuff like that, when the thing is being touched, it lights up.
So if it was being touched by an excess amount of energy around it, the comparison of what it was to what it's feeling would make it turn on?
Yep. Because we We actually ran another device with it at the same time, which is called the MF1, which is EMF, temperature, and geophone all wrapped in one package. And we set that up near it, and that was going off, and all of a sudden on the left side, the bear was going off, the same thing. It was lit up. But we also, during Spirit Box session, we got different voices. There was one point when one of my investigators, Gina, goes, "You don't want to talk to us?" And you hear on the EVP, you hear children. And
okay, can we do something? Because this is a great opportunity, Eric. Can we kind of like have you walk us through the entire investigation, how you set up, how you know, from the details of just what you're doing? We've got 2 hours. And if this is one example of, you know, what you think about and how you prepare for these things, I think that this is a good opportunity to really explain what you do. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. What we do is when we get to the location, we try to get there at least an hour to 2 hours early ahead of time. So that gives us the time to shoot any outside shots that we need to shoot for Haunted in New England. But it also gives us the time to do our baselines and set up DVR cameras as we're doing it. The team shows up usually anywhere between 2 hours to an hour ahead of schedule. The team comes in, each team member knows exactly what their plan of attack is. 2 team members will go out and they'll do a baseline reading. The other members will help set up gear. They'll start rolling out the wires for the DVR cameras, run them into the areas that we know that are the hot spots after we've done our tour with the homeowner. Then we start setting up on these areas. We put out devices. Sometimes we don't carry a lot of devices with us because we already have it set out all over the place. So pretty much we try to electronically lock the building down with gear for any movement and stuff like that. Motion sensors, shadow detectors, EMF detectors, recorders, cameras, GoPro cameras, different things to see what we actually capture during that time. And as we get all done that, each team is set up to do what they do. We have a member who sits at command post. They have a walkie-talkie. The only other man that has a walkie-talkie, so we don't have any contamination, is the cameraman. The cameraman has a walkie-talkie, so we know after they're done filming, he can radio us through his headset that he's moving on to the next location. He's moving on to the next scene or the next area that we're filming or investigating. He's telling us where he's going. After that's done, we take it, we set one team down, say, to the basement. We send one team up to the second or third floor or even the attic of the location. So there's no contamination. The only person that should be anywhere near command center is usually the guys or girls that are actually watching the monitors. Also, the homeowners. That's it. No one's out walking around on the floors. Nothing. We keep it strict so no one else is just ruining our evidence that we're trying to capture. And then we give them anywhere between a half hour to 45 minutes on each spot. We let them, and then they switch into another location within the building. It depends on if they get an activity in a certain area. Say they're heading to their room and all of a sudden they see something dart down a hallway. They're not going to go to that location. They're actually going to go after whatever they're seeing running down the hallway. And the cameraman or the person that's filming it will film the location as they're chasing something down the hallway or chasing something, getting an intelligent response from something else. Once they come back to command post, we download a lot of our stuff right into the computer into a portable hard drive. So we have that portable hard drive, so all their evidence is downloaded to us. So we know exactly what's going on. Once that stuff is downloaded, and after the investigation's done that night, the team breaks down the location. We make sure we have all our equipment. We make sure we have all the cameras wired up, unplugged, that the DVR is all saved. And then we take it, just wrap it up, and put it back in the vehicle, and we head home. Usually our investigations run anywhere between 6 hours to overnights. We were there all night. Libby House, we were there all night. We ran cameras as we slept also. So with our investigations, it just takes a little time to make sure everything's working right. Sometimes we have hiccups. Not every investigation goes smoothly. Sometimes we have hiccups where we have to take the DVR camera, switch out a DVR camera because that DVR camera is not working, so we have to switch it out. Sometimes our batteries die. Sometimes we have to take a break and just let the equipment do its work without cameras around it or anything like that, or with cameras running, DVR cameras running. We'll leave it alone and do what we need to do and charge like the cameras and change batteries out and some of the recorders and stuff like that as we're investigating.
Okay, now that was fascinating. Now, so you have a. Tell us about the one you just did. Now, what was the place again? It was the name of it.
It's called the Libby House. It's in Gorham, New Hampshire. The Libbys pretty much built Gorham, New Hampshire. They owned the lumber mill and everything, and they built the whole town of Gorham, New Hampshire, pretty much. And they are actually the guys, the pioneers, that built the Mount Washington Auto Road up Mount Washington in New Hampshire. And they built it from scratch with horses and chains and all that stuff right up the mountain. And the history that dates back with a lot of this, some of the history was good, some of it was bad. And with the Libby House dating back to the 1800s, a lot of Victorian homes had rooms that were just for men and some rooms that were just for women. And then the children usually played in the basement or the attic. They were never allowed on the main floors. When we did this place, there was an abandoned church that sits right next to it. And the first time we were out there, we actually saw apparitions of children running around outside in the yard of the church.
Now, by we, you mean yourself and who else in your group?
The other investigators that I was with at the time, the other haunted members that we were out at.
Okay, so it wasn't one or two. How many were there?
There was quite a few. There was at least 6 of them that we saw playing out in the field.
So those apparitions, they were so powerful that you had 6 people who could independently see them?
No. There was actually 3 of us that saw it, but there was actually 6 children that were actually.
Oh, I see.
Around.
I see. Okay. All right. Interesting. And you could describe them, and you were all seeing the same ones.
Yeah, they were all dressed in Victorian clothing.
Wow.
And we saw them, but when we went to do the Libby House this time, what changed about it was really interesting. The first time we were there, we didn't have the children up in the house. Now the children are in the house, into the Libby House. And while we were there was children that were, trying to talk and different things, and we were hearing footsteps and voices and doors shutting, different things that were happening during the night. But the children were kept at bay from our spirit box session by a really grumpy old man, the judge, as he's known, Judge Leo Reyes. He actually kept the children at bay. He didn't want the children to talk to the adults.
Now, the first time you met them, there was conversation?
No, because we were actually, what we were doing, we were filming up on the 3rd floor of the building, of the Libby House, and we looked out the window, and you could see the children playing right outside the window, right down on the ground.
I see.
And the funny thing is, that night when I went to bed, I set a camera up that first night, and I went to bed, and I'm running a Bell and Howell camera, and I've got it on a tripod. I got all kinds of devices around me for the night in case something goes off. And you hear it right on camera. You hear a breath go.
Ooh, creepy.
And then when I went to bring the camera home and I started going through the footage, I noticed my camera was shut off at different times and returned back on. My camera doesn't have
while
that
you were
function.
sleeping? While you were sleeping?
Yeah.
So while you were sleeping, the camera was going on and off?
Yes.
How many times?
At least 10.
Oh,
that
my
we
God.
counted.
Wow.
And it wasn't a DVR camera. We actually ran a handheld video camera for the night.
So, oh, wow. So you had it on somehow on automatic that it would just kept running?
I had it plugged into the wall to keep the battery charged for the night. And I had a very big memory card in there, so I knew I wouldn't run out of any memory. And it kept getting shut off at certain points. And during that whole time, as I'm sleeping, you can hear footsteps in the room. You can hear the doors jingling. The doors sound like they're opening. Different things like that.
But you slept right through it.
I slept right through it.
Did you have any dreams or was anything happening to you consciously or subconsciously?
No, because I even watched very carefully in case something sat in the bed with me as I was sleeping, and I didn't see anything make a compression in the bed. And I slept on one side of the bed. I figured something going to jump and lay down next to me or something. It'll do it. And they didn't do it.
Wow. Now, this particular place, you said that it had already been investigated a couple of times before?
Yes, by us. Yep.
By yourselves, okay. And
yeah, we're the only team that's ever investigated it.
So the people that own it now asked you to come in and see what you could find out?
Yeah, they've asked us several times to come in and keep investigating and see if anything new pops up.
Because
and
they're
the children, they don't want the spirits to go. They want to keep them.
So this is a family that's interested in the spirits, not because they're afraid of them and want to get rid of them, but because they're interested in them.
Right, because they moved from Salem, Massachusetts, where they had a bed and breakfast there that had paranormal activity. And so they moved up to Gorham, New Hampshire to this new place. They sold their other place and moved into this new one. And it's just two brothers that are running it. And they got all kinds of activity going on at the first place. So they bought another bed and breakfast. You know, they didn't think they were going to have any activity at all. You know, it's built back in the 1800s. You know, it's up in a sleepy little town. Well, come to find out, they had all kinds of activity going on in the place. And that was part of the reason that a lot of the artifacts were left behind.
Explain that a little more. Why the artifacts were left behind? Because they were tainted, and people left them because they felt they were tainted.
There was, from them talking to former owners of the place, found out that they had experienced paranormal activity because of the artifacts in the place.
Okay, so nobody wanted to take them with them.
Correct. They have Mr. Libby's glasses, and they're sitting in a case right on his original desk, Mr. Libby's desk, is sitting downstairs in the area, and they have his glasses and his book sitting right there on that desk.
Well, you know, this concept of articles containing or being like an anchor to certain energies, I first heard about in Ed Warren's book. He and his wife live in Connecticut, a New England town, and reading his book really, I mean, because you know that, well, he's the only lay exorcist, the acknowledged exorcist, but he came into a lot of those situations where it was a particular item that was harboring, unnatural spirits or, let's say, problem energy. Right. So you in this particular house, there seemed to be, from the original owners, I'm guessing, here?
Yes, from the original owners, the Libbies. Now, the Libbies have they came all the way over from England.
In what time frame?
The 1700s, 1800s, they came into the United States.
Okay. And so they went into that area that was pretty barren at the time and just sort of created their own little nook that became what it is today.
Yeah, pretty much it's a small little sleepy town on the backside of the White Mountains. It's breathtaking, the views that you can see in this town. One of the things that the Libbies did is they are buried in town, the Libbies are, but one of the things they did, which I found kind of fascinating, was they did a stained glass for the church that's in town. And the stained glass, you figured you'd have Jesus up there in the stained glass. Well, the stained glass is actually of a boy Jesus and not a full-grown man Jesus.
Say that again?
It's a stained glass image of Jesus as a boy.
Uh-huh.
Which I found kind of fascinating.
That is.
And if you go into the church, and you can go into the church and actually see it.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that really in a church, and I don't remember. I mean, it may be. I haven't been in that many churches. But do you know any of the reason behind that particular image?
That's the image that they loved about Jesus, was him as a boy.
And they had children, I'm assuming. Did they lose any children?
They did. The Libbies did not lose any children. The Libbies actually, their three sons, lived on the hill in all Victorian homes right above the main Libby house. And those three houses still stand today, too.
But they did have a lot of children, I'm assuming, around them.
Yeah, they had, yeah. Judge Leo was married to a Libby, but ended up cheating on a Libby with a 17-year-old girl.
Uh-oh. Oh, wow.
And he moved her into the house.
Oh, my God. Was the wife still there?
The wife was still there.
Oh,
and he was having an affair. Now back then, wives didn't say much, even if that was happening.
Wow.
They didn't say much back in the Victorian era. So, with that, and we asked if the housekeeper was still there, because he hired her as a housekeeper.
Uh-huh.
It still had his fun. You know what I mean? They had a maid quarter they have a maid's quarter in the Libby house and everything.
So did she feel like she was, well, first off, so the children were there. Now, in that case where you see the children and you can feel and sense their energies, although you couldn't communicate with them because of some grumpy old man that was stopping that from happening. What in your mind are you dealing with? Is it soul fragments from the children that were there? Are they, I don't know. Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
They really want to talk. The children want to talk and say what they have to say, but they're being told to be quiet. We're dealing with an intelligent haunting of this location. We can say it's an intelligent haunting because you can hear the footsteps. You can see objects moving. You can see doors opening and closing. You can hear conversation going on. Downstairs in the lobby area of the Libby house, you can actually hear, at certain times of day, you can hear two men having a conversation, a business conversation, right there in the lobby when there's no one in the lobby. You can hear them coming up.
Now, excuse me for interrupting, but is this conversation like a murmur type of thing that has the feeling of a business conversation, or it's actually like you're eavesdropping on the conversation?
Well, the homeowner says you can actually hear them. You can actually hear them loud and clear as they're talking. Loud and clear. They're not holding back when they're talking. And they've heard them talk to them when they've been cleaning the rooms for the bed and breakfast. They've heard them talk to them also, loud and clear in their ears. And so do you, again, because I'm trying to get into my mind is going in a lot of directions here, but when you have a situation where that is happening, do you feel that it's because of the energy of the spirit coming through, or do you think there's particular areas where you have anomalies in the geographic
energy forces like a vortex or a thinning between time and space. Is there something to do with the place, or is it more just that the spirits happen to be there?
Well, if you look at it, you're looking at where it's located. You're looking at where the Olivia House is located. It's sitting on granite.
On granite?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Granite is a conductor. But there's also water right next to the place.
Oh, wow.
Also
so you've got a continual electromagnetic field being generated just by that action.
Correct. When you get all that energy building up, it wants to talk. They're not frightened of what's in the building at all. They know it's not out to harm them. Sometimes they'll get up and they'll find a cup that they put in one place into another place. They know that it's an intelligent haunting because of the conversation. Because it will talk back to you if you ask it questions. It will answer you back. But it also has its residual hauntings also that don't even know that you're there. They just keep on going. And that's what we've come up with. We have residual haunting, but we also have some intelligent hauntings with the Olivia House.
So a residual haunting would be almost like an audio loop.
Right. It's just like a tape recorder playing itself back in time.
And would that just be like a thought form where you've got an energy force that is interacting with a 3D to create the same sort of energy, keeps going around and around, and so the 3D is sort of manipulated into the audible sounds and maybe a little visual stimulation?
No, not with the residual. You're not going to get the communications that you get from the intelligent hauntings. The residuals, they won't even know you're there. They're just going to keep going. With the intelligent hauntings, you're going to get more of the communications, the moving of objects, the talking, getting hit, different things of that nature to let you know that it's there. Get scratched. Those are more of an intelligent haunting. And we've never had any of that happen to us there. None of the hitting or scratching or anything. Place is perfectly preserved in history.
And so, but it was an intelligent one because you were hearing things and you were sensing things that seemed to have purpose behind it. I would assume a residual kind of haunting is one where you have a figure that keeps walking down a hall and doesn't seem to see anybody. Whereas the intelligent one is you might say, show a sign, you might hear a door creak.
Right.
It's responding to you.
Right. And that's exactly what it's doing. We love the Olivia House, and we were blessed to be able to investigate that just for about a month.
That is interesting. But you didn't do it in a 1 month span. It was like that's how much time over time?
No, it was actually a month. We did it. We practically, it was over time. We started it last year, and we went, every couple months we went up there and did our stuff to find out exactly what was going on at the location.
And did it change?
We actually went up. The first time we went up there, we had no heat. His furnace was out, so we stayed there for the night in below zero temperatures. And we had to bundle up to sleep. It was, I would have to say the place over time has changed, and they seem to be getting to know who we are when we come into the location.
So they're changed in how much of a way? Are they more willing to interact, or is it you being more perceptive to the interaction?
No, they're willing to interact with you. They're willing to interact. They love people. The only one that you really have to watch out for is Judge Leo, because he can be a little scruff when he wants to be, and not kind of give you a little bit of back talk. But the other ones that are there, they're not out to harm you. They just want you to know that they are there, and they appreciate that you're in their house.
So you're actually, it's the original family for some reason has all been locked in this ghostly state?
Yep. Yep, well, most of them. Not all of them, not everybody. Because when Mrs. Libby passed away, they actually had her viewing in that house. In the female sitting room, they put her coffin into that room. And everybody from town came in to say their condolences to Mrs. Libby.
And she's one of them that's haunting?
No, we didn't find Mrs. Libby, but we did find Mr. Libby.
So
he's just I think Mr. Libby's just trying to keep an eye on his house.
All right, now, in your opinion, is this like a soul fragment? I mean, Walt Silva, who's you were on with Walt, and he talks in terms of soul fragments. Mm-hmm. That sometimes a soul fragment breaks off because of a painful situation. But he also talks about the fact that we have like two souls, the animal soul and the higher soul. And that the animal soul is very tied to survival. Now, could it be that it's the animal soul that is not actually passed on and the higher soul has? Or do you feel that there's some other explanation for why this is it a real soul that's trapped with a higher soul and higher consciousness? Or is it a fragment? Or is it this animal soul? Or don't you know?
I think what I would say is this. When Mr. Levy built this house, with his bare hands, he put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this house to make it what it is. And I think what it was is he loved the house so much that he wanted to stay behind, just to keep an eye on it, just to check on it every once in a while, just to make sure that the house is being taken care of. And I see that. And I see that 100%. They absolutely love it. And the spirits of the place and the children that are now there and Judge Leo and everything else that's there, I think a lot of it, the children might be a fragment, but the other ones I'm not too sure about. With Judge Leo, I think he was not a well-liked man in town either.
Now, who was Judge Leo? How was he related to Mr. Libby?
He was actually married to one of the Libbys.
So he was like his son-in-law?
Yeah, when the boys had their kids, he married one of their daughters.
Oh, okay.
And that's how it all came about. Now, Judge Leo was part of the town selectmen. He was the judge of the town, the only judge of the town, and everything. And he just was not like man in the community, and especially and the funny thing is, when you start going to look up Judge Leo Reyes, it's kind of weird because when I started to look him up and get information about him, and I called Gorham to get information about the judge, they won't give me too much information due to the fact that a lot of his stuff has been hushed. The town keeps his name hushed when you're talking to him about Leo. Because
he was corrupt, or you don't know?
I think
it has a
lot to do, with the girl that he had in the house.
Oh, right. I'd forgotten that story already. Oh, wow. So it was a scandal, and they just don't want to confront it, so they sort of hush it up.
Yep. Yeah, it's just, with Leo, he was just so, there was one that I brought a psychic up with me to the house, and she did a walkthrough in the house, and she picked up on a girl about 17, 18 years old, white dress, with blood on the front of it. Now, that first night that we were there, and that's the night that we brought her with us, we actually witnessed that. We actually saw the apparition of the girl in white that night.
Where did she have the blood?
Right in the front, the private area.
So the visions also had the same blood.
Yes.
And is there any history or story about it?
Well, if you think about it, Leo, he was having relationships with this young lady, having relations, and maybe there was a miscarriage along the way somewhere.
Or maybe he had taken her virginity.
Correct.
Uh-huh. Wow. So you think that he's there because why would he be forced to be a ghost there? Continue.
I think he was so crooked and mean and nasty that, he just felt like he needed to stay there. He wasn't finished on what he was doing.
So is it
I'm thinking maybe he's searching for the young girl.
Yeah, is it like a purgatory, or is it more like...
I would say it's probably more purgatory for him.
So he just is stuck in that, and maybe he doesn't want to leave it.
Right. He figures, I can get some kicks out of this. And that's
because none of us know those perverted minds, how they're really working.
Right, and especially during the Victorian times, people got away with anything during that time period. Yeah. You had some of the greatest, if you look back in time, especially with the Victorian era, you had people like Jack the Ripper and stuff like that were going on. So you had people that were doing things that were never caught.
And maybe were being hushed up, like you say. Because
right.
of the Jack the Ripper thing, there's a lot of indication that he was identified, but that he was a prominent person, and they kept it from being known.
Right. That's the whole thing about it. With Jack the Ripper, or anything that has to do with the Victorian era, if you do so much digging back, you could find different things that are hidden along it. When we did, I've done a couple of places that have had, and I've always been trying to find if I can get in contact with her, is a lot of the places that we've done 5 places that actually Betty Davis has stayed at.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
She spent a lot of time up here in the New England area.
Okay, but was she going there because she knew they were haunted, or were they getting haunted because she was there?
No, with Betty, if you remember, Betty Davis was this big, actress back then, and she was a huge celebrity. So she would stay at places like. Have you ever heard of the Victorian Mansion in Gardner?
No.
The Victorian Mansion is the S.K. Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts. And P.T. Barnum stayed there, Betty Davis, and so many other people, prominent people, stayed at that place. But we went up to another place, another few places up in Jackson, New Hampshire, and North Conway, New Hampshire, where Betty Davis also stayed. So do I feel that we're on the trail of finding maybe some history about Betty Davis? Are we gonna run into the spirit of Betty Davis, or is she at rest? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it could be that she was a ghost hunter, and she knew about these places. Do you think that could possibly be true?
I don't know if she was a ghost hunter, but what I think with Betty Davis was, I think she lived a very extravagant life in her time. She was very well liked, and she was invited to a lot of places. We've come across her name quite a bit when we've done investigations in a lot of places. So her name pops up quite a bit. And I don't think she was into ghost hunting, but I do think that she, maybe in her own strange way that people don't know, maybe she dabbled in a little bit of it. We don't know.
No, we don't. It's very interesting. I mean, and from a metaphysical standpoint, maybe she was just being guided to go to these places. Maybe she was
Right.
a bit of a medium or something, and we know
right.
how.
Remember, like when you look at Betty Davis, you remember there was a song that was called Betty Davis Eyes. Maybe Betty Davis was a Wiccan.
Really? Now, who did that song?
Betty Davis Eyes. I forget who did it, but when you look at it, Betty Davis, going to these places, you could probably map out locations that she stayed at. These beautiful, like Victorian homes, Victorian style places back then. She was invited by royalty and stuff like that to go to places. So
Eric, maybe what you should do is you should get a list, see if you can't get a list of every place she was in and contact those people, because maybe they're the people that need your help now.
yeah, you never know. I would love, Betty Davis was a great actress. There's no doubt about it. She was an actress like no other. And, everyone says, oh, you should go out and, investigate Michael Jackson or something like that. Why do I want to investigate Michael Jackson? It's just one of the things I look at and I say, I'm a fan of doing paranormal investigations. If I find in some way that somebody who's a celebrity or somebody that's well known stayed at these places, I want to look and see when she stayed at these places. What was the time period that she stayed at? What year? Stuff like that.
Which would probably be difficult research, but not impossible.
Right. That would be my ultimate. Whenever I decide to retire in the paranormal field, I would love to see myself come up with some kind of hypothesis about Betty Davis.
Well, I bet if you find somebody that's got, it's a biographer of hers who is fascinated with the woman's life, if you just contacted him, say, we got this funny connection here. Can you see if you can find? They'll maybe do the research for you because they're ahead of the game. They know her background anyway, and they might find some information like that. It's something that might turn to be a very interesting new avenue without that much work. If you think about it, throw it out there. First off, whatever happened to Baby Jane was one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen in my life. And
right.
There was something, let's say, a little bit metaphysical about that whole movie. I mean, she creeped me out.
Right. Yeah, if you look at a lot of Betty Davis's films, there was quite a few that stood out that kind of gave the creep factor to a lot of people.
Oh yeah. And
but she was a beautiful lady. When she was younger, she was the most beautiful lady I've seen.
And when she got older, she was I only saw her in a couple of interviews, but she was so intense. I mean, it's like you got fixated on her and you weren't even aware of who the person was asking her questions. She was just a dominating energy.
Right. Yeah. So it's one of my guilty pleasures is trying to see what I can come up with when I find out that places that I've been to that Betty Davis is at. And it's usually sometimes during an investigation I'll ask out and say, Betty Davis, are you here with us right now? I don't get a response. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know she's not there.
Yeah. Interesting. No, she wasn't at the Libby place, though.
No, not at the Libby house at all.
Uh-huh. So, where do you leave it? Are you going to go back for more of a look, or, are you going to make a show out of it?
We are. We actually are just putting the finishing touches for the new episode of Haunted in New England, which will be up in about 30 to 60 days on Amazon Prime. And you'll be able to see how our investigation goes and see the activity that we captured that night.
Very cool. So, but you did get some really good information out of it.
We did. We had some great activity that we couldn't explain, that we feel that maybe that it was kind of something that, maybe needs a deeper explanation, excuse me. But what we're doing now is we're going to let the homeowner relax. He's had 2 other paranormal teams out there besides mine, and the other 2 teams, he doesn't know what they got because they never got back to him with it. And with what we've gotten and we've shown him, and if anybody really wants to know more about the Libby House, you can always go to the Libby House has a Facebook page. You can actually go there. It's called the Haunted Libby House on Facebook, and you can actually go there and take a look on what's going on with the Libby House. When we were up there this time, we handed the homeowner a certificate certifying the home as haunted. The Libby House is haunted through scientific procedures. We wanted to do this for him, one, so people don't laugh at him, that he does have a certificate hanging up saying it is haunted. And it has my signature right on it. No questions asked about it. It has my signature. And when we did it, the reason we certified it was because of, all the investigations we've done there, all the evidence we've captured there. It just makes sense to certify it. And that's the third time, that we've certified a location. No, fourth time, of a location. Libby House is 1, Eagle Mountain House is 2, Wildcat Inn is 3, and the Tuckaway Tavern is 4. All 4 of these places have shown true paranormal activity.
Well, if you certified 4, how many of them have you actually said, no, there's really not a haunting here?
Oh, we've had places where we've had nothing. I've done a case that was supposed to be true demonic entity, and I went out with 2 other teams. Haunted Northern and 2 other teams went out, and we got nothing. We were told we have a whole run of a house in another building, and all we had was one room to do an investigation. We didn't catch anything. Nothing. We drove 8 hours from New Hampshire down to the location, and we got nothing. Nothing at all. There's places that we've gone to that we've had nothing going on.
I get no. That doesn't mean it's not there. It's just that you didn't find it.
Well, the funny thing about it is, with this case here in general, there have been other investigators that have been there and said nothing's happened. So we weren't the first team there. So other teams have been there and said there hadn't been anything there.
So it might be just a over-imaginative owner?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I suppose you got to get them too.
I've had some weirdos.
Oh, I'm sure you have. Yeah, you want to talk about them?
Well, I had one lady call me up. I'm out shopping at Walmart. I was out shopping with my wife.
Okay.
And then we were out shopping at Walmart, something like that, and a lady called me to tell me that she had a ghost sitting on her bed. I said, okay, what is he or she doing? Now, pardon me here, folks. She said he was there masturbating on the bed, and I said to her, I don't go after that kind of ectoplasm, and I said, have a good day.
Oh my. Yeah,
Absolutely. We've had some doozies.
Can only imagine. We're coming to the top of the hour, and we've got a few questions that has been asked in the chat room. During the break, anybody that's got some questions they want to ask Eric, just type them in the chat room, and we'll try to get them over here into Facebook. And so let's see, is there anything else you want to add about the Libby experience you had last weekend?
If you're ever in New Hampshire and you want to stay at a true haunted bed and breakfast in New England, and you want to enjoy the views of the White Mountains, go to the Libby House.
There you go. Very well done. Now, it's a bread and breakfast. How many rooms do they have?
They have 8 rooms.
8 rooms. Wow.
Yep, they have 8 rooms, and they can sleep 8. They also have a barn, which is done up as a hostel for hikers from the Appalachian Trails.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
That must be fun.
So they can actually sleep more people in there, too.
And did you interact with any of the people up there? I mean, did you ask them about, if you had experiences, or wasn't there anybody there when you were there?
No, there wasn't anybody. We had the whole place to ourselves.
Ah, yeah. Dead of winter and all that.
Yeah.
Colleen, you've been...
Yeah, but...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's get... Colleen, are you there? I haven't let you say a thing.
That's all right.
It's my silent co-host. I'll tell you, you can ask the questions in the next hour. You take over. Yeah, you got something up that we can take a few minutes break here?
I do. This is J.J. Gray and Mofo. It's one of Walt's songs that he sent.
Okay.
So that's what I'll put on. See you on the other side.
See you in a couple minutes there, Eric, and audience. Thanks so much for listening. Be right back.
Alrighty, I think we are live.
I love you. Maybe.
I love you too, sweetie. Okay.
Are you back, Eric?
I am.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to let Colleen read some of the questions that have come into the chat room if you're game for it.
I am.
Excellent.
Okay.
Have fun.
Oh, thank you. Well, let's see. I don't know where to start. I'm going to scroll up here and see. Time is now, as asked. Have you ever found a spot in a house where the compass changes from north with no environmental cause?
No, we have not. Matter of fact, the only time we use any kind of compass is usually when we're doing outside investigations like Madame Sherry's castle.
Okay. Alrighty, and then Alexander from Germany wants to know what do ghost hunters focus on before and during investigations? What sorts of things?
First off, we focus on the homeowner themselves. The homeowner is our first top priority. The homeowner has to do with, has children, regular children in the house that are being bothered by something. Of course, our first line of defense is to find out exactly what we're dealing with and to find out from the homeowner exactly what's going on. So our first thing is ghost hunters. We're there to help the community and family.
Ah, very good. Okay, and Lori wants to know, are there souls who are trapped in those different locations? And I think that you probably addressed that, but she did ask it, so if you've got anything you want to add to maybe trapped souls.
With the location of the Libby House, they're not trapped. They come and go as they please. Sometimes the Libby House will have all kinds of activity going on, and there's other days when there's really nothing. I look at most spirits, especially residuals and intelligence. So they're intelligent hauntings. They can come and go as they please and do what they want to do, no matter what. So I don't think they're trapped.
Okay. I wonder if maybe if they've got something that's unfinished and they're just kind of stuck there, their energy's kind of stuck there because they believe they are.
Right.
You know.
And, that would be, we asked if they wanted to go or anything like that when we do spirit box sessions or we're doing UVP sessions. Are we 100% sure that's who we're talking to?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with devices like the spirit box and other things, is it really who we're talking to? Can we actually put a face to that EVP or to that voice or to that photograph? We can't, unless it's solid proof that that's exactly what's going on.
Okay. And she also asked if you try to connect to these beings, and if you're asking questions and stuff, I'm sure you are trying to connect at any rate.
Right. We do. When it came to the Libby house with Mr. Libby, he was the first one we connected with on the property himself. He would let us know by walking up and down the stairs during EVP sessions, spirit box sessions. So we knew that we were dealing with him. But every once in a while, we get one that was a little more scruffier, sounding a little more not nice, which was the judge. And he would speak his mind quite a bit, if he liked you or not. There was a couple times during our EVP session during this last one, and it was all girls up in the room with me. All the investigators were female. And I said, and my wife goes, do you want Eric to leave so you can talk with us? And you hear clear as day, you hear the judge say, yes.
Hmm.
And I left the room, and the cameraman swears that he saw an apparition after I left the room come up from behind him, down underneath the bed, through underneath the bed, out the door, right where I was standing.
Any idea what that was about?
Not sure. We're still trying to put that puzzle piece together.
Like it was hiding under the bed and...
It was hiding out behind him because he said he was turning the camera and he was moving around, and all of a sudden he saw it go from left to right under the bed, then out with the door where I was standing.
Ah, wow. Okay, let me see. And Time also asked, is it possible to clear a house of ghosts? And if so, where do they go?
Cleansing is not 100% foolproof. And we had a location in Jackson, New Hampshire called the Whaaat Inn and Tavern. They have a cleansing done every 6 months due to the fact that they really don't want to get rid of their ghosts. They just want to make sure that the ghosts aren't messing with their equipment and stuff at the Whaaat Inn. And as it's been proven, they tried they don't want the spirits to go, but they do have a cleansing done every 6 months. And after they have the cleansing, usually everything pipes down for about a month, and then it all picks up all over again.
Well, I think some just want to stay around there,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. That's what I think. I think a lot of them just want to stick around and not, just want to see what's going on and see what we're up to.
Yeah. I think especially those, sometimes you have loved ones who like to stick around. And maybe I think sometimes, this is my own personal opinion, I think sometimes they have something that they want to tell us, but because we don't pay attention, we're not listening or whatever, then I think sometimes they start doing things, like moving stuff or even tossing stuff off shelves and stuff trying to get your attention,
Right. And that's the way it was when my mother passed away last month. When I got to the hospital, she had already passed. And I already said my goodbyes, like, just before Christmas to her. And when I get to the room and I walked over to my brother, and they say that spirits always have a message for you. And and I have a gift for you. My mother's gift to me was when I walked over to my brother, stood next to my brother, I looked at the door, and I saw my mother standing there. She smiled at me, opened the door, there was a light, and she went through. So that was my gift. That was my gift from my mother.
Oh, yeah. Letting you know that she's gone to the light and all that, and that, and she turned towards you, right?
Yep. She smiled right at me.
Yeah. I'm okay. Things are great.
Yep.
Don't worry. That's beautiful.
She did her thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right. Now, Nancy has a question. Many discarnate entity is attached to individuals, not just buildings. Have you found that to be the case?
We've had a few cases where an entity is just attached to a person. There's been quite a few documented cases that we've done that we found that it was more along the lines of the person than the building. Eagle Mountain House, I had one attached to me. And attacked me to no end. And even after I had myself cleansed and everything, it still, and it still attacked me. And with that, every February, I still have that memory of that spirit with me every February.
I wonder why they do that.
It's like they left their mark, and it's like a beacon, as I was told. It's like when I'm on an investigation, where the spirit leaves a mark on you or something like that. It's like putting a beacon light out and saying, "Hey, this person, you can have a conversation with this person."
Ah, I'm starting to say that's pretty cool, but I'm not so sure. Okay, and Dolly wants to know, why does the spirit box have to be played so loudly with that static sound?
Well, you can actually, it depends on the speaker that you use with the spirit box. You can use the regular speaker that comes with the spirit box, or you can buy an attached speaker that gives you a little more oomph. If you think about it, you're giving off an electric magnetic field for that spirit to come out by the sound waves and stuff. And you're giving it a little more energy. You don't need to play it loud. You can set the volume as loud as you want or as low as you want. But you want to be able to hear them talking back to you.
Right, it'd be like recording. If you've got your recorder on a low volume, you're not going to get much.
Right, and that's what we do with ours. Is we actually hitch it into a recorder when we do EVP sessions.
Okay. And Time Is Now has asked, do you know what ball lightning is, and have you ever seen it?
We have seen ball lightning. It's a rarity. It's very much a rarity. I haven't seen too much of it. We did a place that was monument put for a Native American massacre that happened. And it was just a big ball of energy. All I could say was static electricity in the air. And we couldn't figure out what it was. And we were taking pictures, and it showed up in the camera about 5 times before it dissipated.
Now, I have seen a ball of energy, I suppose, move, and this was in broad daylight, through one closed window and across 2 rooms and out another closed window. But this one was a kind of a reddish-orange color ball of light. I have no clue. And I know I saw it because my cat saw it too. The cat was following, sitting on the floor and just followed it through the 2 rooms with her eyes as well. And I'm like, wow, wonder what that was. Nobody else saw it because everybody else was watching television.
Right. You know, especially with orbs and stuff like that, people look at orbs, ball energy, different things. Now, a lot of things have changed about orbs since Ghost Adventures has been on.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that orbs can go into you and stuff of that nature. And, you know, how much was true and how much is actually based on the science of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole key, is the science of what orbs are. I've always been taught that orbs are dust, moisture, bugs, static electricity, stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while you get ones that are a little weirder than others.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen orbs that have tails with them behind them.
Wow.
I saw one that won in 2013 or 14, I think it was 14, at the Paranormal Awards, where this person took a picture of an orb and it had a face in it.
Wow. Well, I think that maybe, we like to put everything in this neat little package category. And not everything is the same, as you say. Some is dust, some is bugs, but and and some are not. And the one, we try to discount those ones that we know that one's dust and all that kind of stuff. Right. And I don't think that you can put them all in one particular category.
Right.
Now the one with the tail's interesting.
There was so many people that there was a book that's out. It's a very small book, and I do mean small. It's called The Orb Project, and it pretty much explains what an orb is. If you can find it out there, people, I would say get it. It's worth it. It's a small book, but you'll enjoy it. I actually have that book. I would say, when it comes to stuff like orbs, and ball energy and stuff like that, you got to do it scientifically. I've been to places where I've seen so much dust kicked up, that it's just dust. I went to one attic, and I have the photos to show people. There was so much dust in that attic that you didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have seen pictures where looks like there's maybe 100 orbs, and that I'm going like, wow,
Right.
That seems dusty to me, but
yeah. I've taken pictures of my own home and saw dust.
I know this place would. Okay. Now the time is now. Asks, do telepaths communicate easier with these ghosts or spirits?
Haunting New England, we use sensitives, we use psychics, we use empaths during our investigations to find out exactly what's going on. And sometimes what we do, and we do not, when it comes to a location, unless their life is in jeopardy on it, we don't tell them anything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to know anything. All they know is to the day of the investigation, this is where they're supposed to go. That's it. They're not pervious to anything that we put into groups, conversations. Because what we do is if we have a psychic that's going with us, we'll start a group conversation off to the side without the psychic knowing what's going on. So whenever we do that stuff, anybody that does it, we try to make sure that they don't get corrupted with everything else that everyone else has seen.
Right. Yeah, because if you're trying to authenticate things, you want to kind of have a control kind of thing going on. Now, what my question is after you've done your investigations and such, and say you get information, or what do you do afterwards to try and what's the word? I'm going to use authenticator because I can't think of anything else. For instance, if you see a little girl and maybe you've got a psychic there who says that she died in that house or anything, do you do historical research afterwards?
Yeah, we do. We actually do it before, during, and after an investigation. Because the internet is a lovely thing to look up stuff. But when it comes to other places, you want to look at other, how can I put it, avenues. Not only the internet, but you also want to look at going to historical societies, going to town halls, go to the city clerk's office, look at real estate records, different things like that.
Yeah, I know sometimes deeds and things have some of that information.
Right. And the funny thing is, if you look up old newspapers, sometimes you can find out if someone died in that house by looking up old newspapers.
And how they died, especially, I suppose, if it's a tragic
sort
of thing.
Right. You can find out if there was a murder in the house, stuff like that. Now, I know some states, they have to notify you if there is a haunting in a house. New Hampshire is not one of those states.
Alrighty. And Alexander from Germany wants to know if you think that ghostly appearings are being imagined.
Well, see, that's where we have to evaluate the homeowner and have discussions with the homeowner and meet with them and talk with them and see if they're mentally stable. If we don't find they're credible, and what we do is we bring a parapsychologist or something like that with us to discuss what the things. We had one case where we went to the house. We were invited in to investigate. We set up our gear. We were, doing the baseline readings, and all of a sudden one of the homeowners came out of the room. Threatened my team, bodily harm. Pretty much I stood my ground, got my team out of the house. I was the last one out. So yeah, we want to make sure that our top priority is safety, especially when we're doing places. We had another place where a lady had a propane cylinder hitched to a portable heater in her own home, inside the house, a big propane tank.
Wow.
So yeah, we're very cautious.
Oh yeah. I would think you'd have to be in, because you don't, it is the unknown after all.
Right.
So.
Right, you're invited into somebody's home. You don't know what you're going to walk into.
That's right. I mean, and not only the living, or not only the dead, but also the living.
Right.
Okay. Time also asked if in a picture of an orb that set off the motion detector, was that in infrared?
When we have something that sets off the motion alarm, the motion sensor is pretty much anything that moves in front of it. But the funny thing is we've never had an orb set off a motion alarm at all when it came to that. We've had shadow detectors that have gone off. We've had EMF detectors that have gone off, but not because of orbs, it's because of sometimes energy. When we're running a DVR camera, and we did this at the Libby House. If we see an orb, we just write down an orb. We can't zoom in on it with our camera. The DVR cameras don't zoom in. So when we see stuff like that, we'll roll back and we'll look at the footage to see if we have anything in there.
Okay. Alrighty, let me see. I'm having trouble with some of these questions. Okay, isn't dust. Who came around the same time each night for a while and then vanished before they came again later? That's interesting. Well, I'm wondering, too, because I used to watch the Ghost Hunters well, every time they were on, before I stopped watching television.
Yeah.
And some of these other shows as well. And I always felt like, okay, you go in, you say, okay, we've got ghosts here. Does anybody, does your team do anything to help maybe these spirits cross over, let them know, that it's okay to cross over, or, try to help them so that they...
Right. We do talk to the homeowner first to find out if that's exactly what they want. If it's something that's bothering the living crap out of them, we're gonna help them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something that they're using, like the Libby House, they don't want their ghosts to go. Mm-hmm. Wildcat Inn doesn't want their ghosts to go. The Victorian Mansion doesn't want their ghosts to go.
For financial reasons.
Right. For them, like with the haunted Victorian Mansion, they're going to be opening that up as a bed and breakfast. Now people will get to experience some of the spirits there. I can tell you there is one nasty one that tossed a cameraman off the 3rd floor down a flight of stairs. So these are spirits you don't have to mess around with.
Well, personally, on my way of thinking, I think it's rather self-centered of someone to say, well, we don't care, we don't want you to help them because we're making money here. That seems a bit...
Yeah, well, I tried it. What I do with the homeowners is this. It's their call.
Right.
Their home.
Right.
When I have somebody on my team that can do cleansing, and we do tell them that if they do need a cleansing to let us know. And we'll try to help you out as much as possible.
Right.
But there are people on there that, and there's people out there that'll say, hey, why don't you help out? Okay, we'll help you out. What do you want to see? You want to see good cleansing? I just want you to get rid of it. They'll tell us flat out if they want it gone. I've had cases where I've had private homes and we've done cleansings. I've had teams come in that have actually done just cleansings for us. And then 2 days later to a week later, the homeowner comes and says, hey, they're not gone yet. They come back. Well, as I said before, not all cleansings are foolproof.
Right. Well, these beings have a will of their own, and if they want to stay around, they're going to, no matter what, come hell or high water, so to speak.
Right. And the good thing about with my team, Haunted in New England, and when you watch what we do on TV, is you're going to get an education on exactly what the paranormal is really about.
Mm-hmm. What
about, how we go into doing an investigation. What you see on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, you see 45 minutes of pretty much entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Haunted Production shows, the teams that are part of Haunted Productions, they're going to educate you on how to do a paranormal investigation, what to look for, different aspects in the paranormal, different stages in the paranormal investigations. And that's what Haunted New England's doing. It's showing you different things that we're doing during the investigation.
That's cool. Okay.
But when you think about this, you watch Ghost Hunters when they first came out. They educated you.
Oh yeah.
On how to do investigations. Then somehow they lost their way.
Mm-hmm.
And it all became about Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's probably about the time I stopped watching, because it was, pretty much it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, fine.
And that's the whole thing. Is we're trying to help the public understand what's exactly going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's important to let people know that this is a reality.
Right.
And it is a part of life. Death is a part of life. It's all energy. And instead of it all being scary.
That's the whole thing. Right, and that's the whole thing. Is people don't understand, you get all these teams that start up in the paranormal field that just go out and say, we're going to be the next Ghostbusters, the next Zach Baggins, or we're going to be this or that. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Because the paranormal field, I was talking to a good friend of mine a couple nights ago, and we were talking, and the paranormal field's now changing direction. You can see the change starting to come over the paranormal field with, if you remember the last few years, it's been just pretty much hate, this, that, and everything. This last couple of years, you see this wave coming up over the paranormal field, and teams are dropping to the wayside because they can't get hunts. Or, I hate using that word when it comes to investigations. It's not a hunt. You're not on a hunt. You hunt animals and different things. You don't hunt ghosts. You investigate the paranormal. I hate using the word hunt when it comes to the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And you're out to investigate. You are an investigator.
Right.
And that's exactly what you are. So why do you go out and say you're hunting? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like you're bagging game or something.
Right. And the way that you're seeing is a lot more teams are now starting to work together for the better. You're seeing teams come together as one team to help get the paranormal field moving in the right direction. You're seeing that more. You're seeing more cooperation between teams. You're going to see a lot less bickering and backfighting, and you're going to see more teams doing stuff together.
That's great, because you've got experts in different areas, with different teams, different, more minds to pick, more skills and things of that nature. And I would like to see it go more positive.
I have team members that are on Haunted New England that are part of other teams.
That's great.
They joined Haunted New England because they wanted something a little different. It's not because we were going on TV. It wasn't any of that. It was because they saw something in Haunted New England that they weren't seeing in other things.
Mm-hmm.
And when Haunted New England, we started out on public access TV, and we got some great reviews on it, but it wasn't for us. We enjoyed it for a short time. It really wasn't to us. We wanted to change something up and help educate. What we were doing in the first season of Haunted New England was interviewing celebrities and stuff like that and teams in the paranormal field. And that all had to change. Because in 2014, we had to take and rip the guts out of Haunted to do what we wanted to do, which was locations and help educate the public. I have a 22-man team strong at Haunted in New England. 22 members from here to New Jersey. All right? I got one member that has over 35 years in the paranormal field.
Wow.
He knows his science behind the paranormal. So, he runs 2 other teams on top of that besides being part of Haunted. So, doing all the stuff that we're doing, the new change in the field, I want to see everything change. I want to see, teams working together. I have teams that are on Haunted production that go from New England down to the South, down to the Midwest. All right? I also have I have a team over in the UK. We're also getting a team in Canada. We're also getting one in Sweden.
Oh,
so we're bringing the education. So you're not only going to get the education of the teams in the United States, you're going to get the education of teams from Canada, from Sweden, stuff like that.
Cool. Needs to be global. Now, when you say the science behind the paranormal, what do you mean exactly?
The science, if you look at the paranormal science in general, it's a fringe science. It's not a proven science.
Right.
One of my goals is when I'm done and gone, and I'm buried, one of the legacies I want to leave for people that are probably follow my career after I'm gone is what I brought for science. What I try to put together the right science, the right formulas and stuff of that time. And that's my whole goal, is just to change people's minds. I used to hate science in high school. Hated science. But I used to love picking on my science teacher. But that's a whole different story. If I listened to probably what he said half the time, I probably would be more in tune to a lot more science in my life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm still kind of confused about when you speak of the science, and I understand that it's not exact. It's not you can go into a lab and
right. We do everything. We try to understand better with the EMFs, with EVPs. We try to learn the newest techniques in the science that people are putting out.
Ah, I see.
And right, not only in tech, but we try to apply our own theories, our own science behind what we believe. And that's what Haunted New England does. Is we try to sit back, even if we just go in with a recorder and a camera, we're trying different experiments. We tried an experiment that we did at the Cabernet Inn, where we put a person north, south, east, and west, and we did a spirit box session in the middle of that. We got Class A EVPs during that time that said, "She's coming, we're dead." Then you can hear Native American drums, different things during that time. And what we found out behind that theory was, when we did this and we talked to the Native American store that was in town, the local tribe, they told us what we did is we appeased the native spirits by putting somebody north, south, east, and west to communicate with the dead. So that was our way of starting to learn how to better communicate with EVPs and put the science behind it. And it worked to our favor.
That's great. That's great.
Can I just ask a question? That if it worked that one time, were you doing it because it was Native American energies in that area, or do you use it still? Do you work with different geometric configurations of the people? I know. No,
we still do the north, south, east, west.
You still do it.
Right. But we've tried it in other configurations, but our best luck is definitely with north, south, east, west. We tried with more people. We tried in a circle formation. Everybody stands in a circle, and one person stands in the middle. Not the same luck.
And do you have any reason? Do you understand why that might be? That specific geometric lineup is what enhances the box?
Well, you think about it. You've got north-south, which is the magnetic holes, and then you got east-west. You're in a cross formation. We could be on a location that has ley lines crossing it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a good question. Do you look at the ley line question of a given area?
Yeah, we look at that. We look at that very carefully.
And do you find that a lot of these hauntings end up on the ley line crosses, when two ley lines cross, or on a ley line?
There was a couple locations that ended up on the ley lines, but more or less the locations that we're doing don't end up on the ley line. So we look at the nature output of it. Say there's granite, water, different things. We look at what the building is made of, different aspects of our investigation.
Okay, one other question, and then I'll let Colleen take it over again. When you're doing these investigations, you've been doing them quite a while now. Plus, you've had access to looking at some of the results of others, I'm assuming. Do you find a commonality, something that holds through of the majority of them, that, you have to have history to it. I mean, I can't even imagine all of the variables, but is there a certain set of criteria that makes you go, oh yeah, this is in fact haunted?
When I look into aspects of other teams looking into what they've done, stuff like that, but I've noticed that they don't always get the same results. We might not get the same results as them. And some of the stuff, when I look into and I ask them what they've done on research, sometimes you don't get that. They say, we didn't really do too much research into it. We just investigated it. Well, that's where Haunted differs from other teams. We do the research into it. And we try to figure out what their theories are on the location and see if it matches up with our findings.
Yeah, but are most of the teams using the same kind of equipment now? Is there
No, every team, some of the stuff they might use the same as us, but there are teams that don't use the same thing.
Okay. Colleen, you got some more questions? Are you muted?
No, yeah, well, I was, yeah. Okay, let me see. Time Is Now asks, why do you think that the hard sciences are so reluctant to accept the para-worlds?
That's a good question. I haven't figured that out yet. Why? Because it hasn't been proven yet as a science.
Well, I would think, too, that it's the way the hard sciences prove things. You can't put this in a petri dish
and look at it, right?
And they're of the mind, if you can't see it, hear it, touch it, smell it, then it's not real. If they don't,
right? I think I agree. I definitely agree with that. If they can't see what's in it, they don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you not say it's not science when you're looking at people that are doing videos and showing you exactly what's going on by EMF fields and stuff?
Well, you
know what I mean?
Yeah, but too, for me, it's kind of along the lines of UFOs and ETs. There are some pictures out there, and I'm sure some of them are real and some of them are not. And because
same thing with Sasquatch.
Yes.
You see pictures of Sasquatch.
And so, it's because somebody's out there spoofing some, people have a tendency to just disregard it all.
Right.
So.
Right. I just think the hard science is not ready yet.
Yeah.
For the proof facts of paranormal science.
Right. Well, I've read, except for over the years, that the two will come together. Science and the paranormal will meld and prove each other out.
Right. And I would love to see people like, some of the best scientists in the world come together and talk about the science of paranormal and see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
They're called quantum physicists. Seriously.
Yeah, there's more truth in that than laughter.
Right. Well, think about it. You got Stephen Hawkins, and you got all these great minds. Why can't they come together with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're great minds, and we're coming together with it just because we don't have any credentials, that are accepted by convention.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that kind of busts my bubble, is when you hear somebody say, "Oh, yeah, I get a certificate online to be a ghost hunter."
Yeah.
Really?
What? Yeah. Well, too, science is very specified in their area of expertise, rather, I say, tunnel visioned in those particular studies. And I think this is something that takes a little more open mind and questioning.
I would agree 100%. I think it's going to take a long time for us to get all the research and all the data put together for everybody just to sit back and say, hey, this is what we captured.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, Eric, in intelligence work, what we end up doing is we end up having some kind of a center that can take in the intelligence being gathered by different agencies so you can see the whole picture. Is there any such organization within the paranormal investigation world?
Not that I've seen. In the paranormal world, especially with teams and stuff like that, a lot of teams keep everything hush-hush. They don't talk about this and that and everything. But isn't it kind of funny that you're doing investigations and all of a sudden you're called up by the U.S. government to do an investigation for them because they believe their building is haunted?
Which happened to you, correct?
Correct.
And what was that? Yeah, can you remind us?
We were called in to do a military base. I can't tell you where, but we were called in to do an investigation of the facility, and it scared the military personnel to be in this building to no end. No one wanted to be the last one in the building. And we got all kinds of activity that happened during that night. Feet under doors, voices, pushes, different things that happened that night to say that the place was haunted is an understatement. It had a lot of activity because the place was also used as a morgue and stuff like that a few times.
It had been used as a morgue?
Yep, they were in a morgue. This building, they were used as a morgue a few times during, if there was like a plane crash or a boat crash or something like that, this place was used as a makeshift morgue.
Oh my goodness. Now, I'm assuming because it wasn't a bread and breakfast or a restaurant or something, or, where the ghost is a good thing, I'm assuming the military wanted you to release the spirits. Were you successful or did you not try?
They didn't ask us to release anything.
Really? They just wanted to know?
They just wanted to know. They wanted to put their minds at ease.
Put their minds to ease that their troops weren't in battle fatigue?
Yeah.
That there was something there causing their troops to be spooked?
Well, the way they put it is they pretty much just wanted validation that, it's like when you see ghost hunters and they're talking to the U.S. Coast Guard about locations and stuff like that. Think about that. You're called in by the U.S. Coast Guard to do a location, and ghost hunters were. They do a lighthouse, and they prove that the lighthouse is haunted. But they did nothing after for the government to get rid of it.
Okay, we got one more. We got. Okay, did you have more on that? I'm sorry.
No. I just think that if the government wants us, our teams to come in, then they should, let us do our job and see if they don't want those things there to let us get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm seeing somewhere that there's some regulation that if you have a ghost, do not get rid of it. Notify this agency, so right. That they can manipulate that energy or something. It just sounds very ominous to me that they would bring people of your caliber in and then have it said, yes, there is, and then do nothing about it.
Right.
It goes into being incompetent, or conspiratorial.
Right.
Yeah. We've got another question from Alexander from Germany. Could evil spirits manifest from insane living mentalities into your home and again possess another human body?
I've had a near possession myself with Eagle Mountain House, where I fought for my own soul with this spirit. She wasn't evil, but I've heard cases that are so far-fetched, saying that they're evil spirits that are attaching to themselves to humans or who have mental health issues or stuff like that. I just read a story, and I forget where I saw it, that there was somebody that believed in the paranormal community that they believe that Charles Manson has some kind of possession. That's why he's acting the way he is. Or Jeffrey Dahmer was the same way. you look at these people, and it's a theory I'm trying to figure out myself. What makes them think that these are paranormal and just not mental health issues? If it's feasible, yeah, maybe an evil spirit will attach itself to something that's not right. I do believe it's happened. I don't believe it's happened to people like Charles Manson or Jeffrey Dahmer. But it does happen time to time.
Interesting distinction. Okay, the time is now, has another one. I love their questions. Do you think that walk-ins are disembodied ghosts or another type of entity? Or do you accept walk-ins? Do you understand them?
The walk-ins, ghosts or spirits that show up. We've had a few of those, and usually they're pretty much just residual haunts. They're just passing through, especially during a ley line. We've had spirits show up in mirrors. We've had different things that have happened.
They've showed up in mirrors?
Yeah, because one of the things that I learned a long time ago is mirrors, if you have two mirrors facing each other in the same house, they say they're in the same hallway or something like that, in the bathroom, same thing. If they're facing each other, what you're doing is pretty much you have a paranormal highway. Some investigators, I'm not going to say a lot, but I'm going to say some investigators believe that a mirror is actually a form of a portal for the paranormal.
Well, when I was in college, we had a dining room in this Victorian house we were renting, and that's exactly the situation. There were two mirrors face to face, but at the different, opposite walls in the dining room. And I just happened to walk in there one night when I saw that, it looks like it looks like it is a doorway and that you could walk through it because it's continually, you see the reflection, it gets smaller and smaller, and it's like, it freaked me out, and I'm like, oh my God, if I just walk through that path, if I walk through that, I know I'm going to find myself. But the table was between me and the mirror I was looking in, and the one on the opposite wall was sort of like right behind me. I go around the table, and of course when I got right in front of the mirror, all I saw was myself. I couldn't see the pathway because I was blocking it. And I have never...
When we did Parent Sim up in Maine, we stood in front of this mirror, and we closed our eyes, we opened our eyes, and there was a spirit standing right behind us.
Oh, wow. That'd be an eye-opener.
That, it was interesting because three of us tried the same theory out and see if it happened, and every time it happened.
Wow. Well, when I have a friend of mine who was she was 92 years old and failing, and when she had come over from Russia as a little girl, and when they put her in school here in the United States, they asked her birthday. But in Russia, being Jewish, they would celebrate all the birthdays that were closest to the whatever given holiday. So her mother said, well, I don't really know what the birth date is, that you have, the day and month. And so this little girl decided it was May 30th because I asked her why, and she said, well, I like the month of May. So she told them their birthday was May 30th. And so as she was failing, her birthday was coming up, and I told the wonderful woman who was caring for her, I said, just be careful on her birthday. And she said, why? And I told her the story. So she went out of the room to do something, and as she's going back, a hair on her chin was bothering her, and there was a mirror in the hallway, so she stopped to get this hair out of her chin, and all of a sudden she saw the shadow pass right behind her, and she immediately ran into the rows where she had just passed. But she actually saw her spirit, walk behind her, and it was on May 30th.
Right.
So.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. We've only got like a minute here left. Why don't you give your website?
Yeah, you can find us at www.hauntedinNewEngland.com. You can find us on Facebook at Haunted in New England. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. We're all over the place. We're social media hounds, I'll put it that way. And if you'd like to get some spooky jewelry, you can find us on Facebook at our store called Spooky Jewelry. Haunted Production, if you'd like to have your team talk to us about producing your show for Haunted Productions and Amazon Prime, you can find us at Haunted Productions right on Facebook.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to impart here to the audience?
Yeah, when you're out looking and doing investigations, just be true to yourself, who you really are. Stand behind your beliefs. Don't let anybody change your opinions on what you do. Be true to yourself. Find a mentor. Respect the dead. Do not provoke.
Well said. Well said. Colleen, you back here? You want to? We got a minute left, or do you want to get on the other show? Colleen's got another show coming up to produce. That's what we're negotiating here. Colleen?
Yeah, I'm here. Got a mouthful of pizza.
Ah! I see I thought you meant you had another show.
Well, I do have another show.
I know.
Supposed to. Well, I don't have any other questions or anything other to say. And I got a mouthful of pizza. But I thank you, Eric, for joining us. Huh?
So you got pepperoni on it?
No, this is a veggie pizza.
Ah, boring.
Okay, you lost me.
And me too. We're so honored that you've come on to Wolf Spirit. And anytime you just want to come on and talk about it, just contact us. We've got a lot of places we can gladly and gratefully plug you in, because we always have a good time talking to you.
Well, I enjoy being on this network with you guys, and I'm blessed to, be on some of these shows. And, I'm always available for anybody that wants to chat. Definitely find me on Facebook under Eric Perry, and you'll see where I'm at. You'll see my name. It'll say Eric Perry, Haunted Productions, and you can come and talk to me. And I'm always there to chat with anybody.
Yeah, and if you have problems, don't hesitate. Get help. Because sometimes the problems may be something that are 3D and dangerous to you, as Eric has explained and found out. But if it's not, and it's paranormal, then you're doing everybody a favor by letting us know that there's a situation that doesn't seem to have a real good answer, so that we can dig deeper and ask the questions and use the equipment that keeps getting better, right, Eric, over the years? It seems
yeah. Tons of equipment's gotten much better. And your best equipment to get is usually the things that have more than one use for them, like millimeters that have REM pods or shadow detectors attached to them, or like the MF1 who has a geophone, EMF, and temperature readings. So you've got different devices that have different things. Just get some of the devices that have multi-purpose.
And like he says, he can guide you if you're interested in getting into the business. And for the rest of us, what's
that?
Say? No, I'm looking at this. What's to say? You did find yourself? What's that mean? Colleen, what are you writing me? I don't know.
Oh, you were saying that you felt like if you just kept going towards that mirror, you would find yourself, and you said you walked to it, and all you saw was yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it was bizarre, but I mean, I've kept that with me. It was an amazing, insight into, yes, the path is yourself.
Yeah.
If you just go down that path, you will find yourself, and I have lived by it. So, to me, it was a very blessed experience. But it was when he was talking about those mirrors reflecting into one another, I knew exactly what he was talking about. So, okay, so anything else?
No, that's it. I'm sorry for my 3-year-old behind me.
I know, and I missed him, actually, but I'm glad he's doing it fine. He's got the lungs are working well.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you so very much. We'll see you next time, and our best to your family and your team. Keep up
thank you, and God bless you all.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Colleen, am I going to leave you here, or do you need me for something?
Nope, I'm going to leave you here.
All right.
And
We've got the girls coming out on Laura Cross and Ellen Aiken, correct?
Atkins. Mm-hmm.
Atkin.
Yes, we do. And
Okay.
I've got to get to that one.
All right, sweetie.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you a little bit later.
All
Have a
righty.
nice night. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.